Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mac Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening or watching the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. And if you're watching, you're on the Blue Collar Leadership YouTube channel. And it's actually this is part of the Real People Getting Real Results series. If you're listening on the regular audio podcast, just know that there's going to be some things on the screen you may not see, contact information and stuff like that. But you can go to the youtube.com/@ Blue Collar Leadership. So today I'm excited to bring you someone I've known for a couple of years, and I'm real proud of him just as a person, and hopefully I'm going to learn a lot more about him today. I don't know if I've ever had a conversation like this with him. Probably do know I haven't had one probably deep as we'll have today and learn more about him, but his name is Daniel Gamble, and he's a rock star, and he worked with Lone Star Electric Supply out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Daniel?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Mac.
Yeah, man.
That's right. Daniel Gamble, Lone Star Electric Supply to Fort Worth, out of the DFW area. Yes, sir.
Yep. And we're going to definitely talk about what you do and who you do it for and who you do it with and how you do it and why you do it and what you provide. And we'll plug all that for sure. It'll fit in anyway, at some point. But
yes, sir. Thank you for having me, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
for the invite.
Yeah, what I always tell people, folks like you are helping me help other people. It really is. I appreciate it. It's a big deal. I mean, the only people I have on here is people I know some kind of way through some kind of contact, through my content, or they got results, real results. And it's okay if you share other stuff you've been reading or other growth you've had before you ever met me. I ain't trying to take credit for who you are and all that kind of stuff, but we know each other usually through my content some way. So
yes, sir.
How do we know each other, Daniel?
That's right. One of my very good friends, a great customer of mine now. He started as just an acquaintance that I cold called one day. His name is Jason Denham with Kilgore Industries, Kilgore Electric in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so that relationship started with me just cold calling on those guys. And he invited me to participate in what he was doing for his company. And this a book study that he wanted to participate in to help grow his company, and I was all aboard. So the first time that we met was at the first event that he had at his office with his employees and whoever else wanted to join, the people he invited, and you came to speak a little bit on your books, and that was an introduction to the whole Blue Collar Leadership series. So introduction to you, a great introduction. I mean, authentic. I mean, that's just what I think of when I first think of Mac and Rhea, is just authentic and helping people. So that was the first day we met.
That's awesome. So you cold called Jason, and how long had he been started up when you cold called him? You remember? He hadn't been going long, probably.
No,
I've known you for several years.
He was rather new to Kilgore, and he was just getting started in the Dallas area. They were just a small little office that I had walked into as a guy would, just trying to get more business.
Okay.
And he kind of helped me out through that process, kind of coached me a little bit along the way. I didn't ever start off where I am now because we've grown a long way since then. I started off in 4th or 5th place, getting cookie crumbs there occasionally. And so it took a little bit of time, and, we've developed a relationship, and through this study, and this study's been a huge help of that, in my personal opinion, just with our personal relationships, and with Jason and I, or Kilgore and I, and their employees and I, and then also with my own personal development, just a lot of at-home stuff. And so it's been great. But anyways, I've worked with Jason, and he's helped me develop and character build too. So
Okay. For those
huge shout
listening or
out to
watching,
Jason
oh,
for that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A huge shout out to Jason Denham for that. So thank you so much.
Okay.
And to you,
Yeah.
Matt. Yep.
Yeah. So for anybody watching or listening, Jason was actually the first person I interviewed in this series. So you can go back if you're watching on the YouTube channel. You can go to the playlist, Real People Getting Real Results playlist, and there's a whole series of folks like Daniel who've come on and shared their story to help. So were you new in sales when you started, or you're in outside sales at Lone Star, right?
I'm an outside salesman now. I've always been in the customer service business, I would say. I mean, I've had a few sales jobs that I've held along the way. After graduating college, I guess I could back up a little bit further to say that throughout college, I was waiting tables.
Okay.
And that's kind of where that started, the love of customer service.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It was just an opportunity to shine with every table I had, every person that came in. It was just, that's where I learned to talk to people, right? So that's a huge stepping stone.
Yeah.
That's why I do a lot of things, be early, on time, don't be late, go out of your way to go above and beyond. So a lot of the little details it takes, like I worked at, some really fine dining restaurants, and I've worked at the same places for a long time, and I established a lot of good clientele over that time. So even in college, I was developing relationships, waiting tables, just making people happy, blowing people away. Like,
yeah, over delivering, right? And
that's what it's all about.
And it helps your bottom line, but that ain't necessarily why you do it. But that's bottom product. I mean, a byproduct of being a good servant of other people, right?
It made people happy.
Yeah, and I still see you doing that. I know you've participated in some of it's an annual event Jason does, and I know you've over delivered there. I see you on LinkedIn, and by the way, anybody who's watching, you'll see Daniel's LinkedIn information, so you can check him out on LinkedIn. But I've seen you do all kind of stuff with all kind of people, like over delivering.
I'd love to help everybody. It's not, I treat everybody the same. I try to treat every customer like a gold customer, a platinum customer. Everybody's important to me. Yeah, that wants to be important to me. That wants to work with me. I like good relationships, and so I like to foster those whenever they're good in return, and it's a win-win, right? So there's a lot of value in that, it being all just a win-win for everybody, right? Like I get to see these people happy, that's my win. Truthfully, like blowing people away, like when it's like, oh my goodness, that moment of wow, they did that, that's what I get out of that.
Yeah, and anybody,
and a paycheck too, but like that's part of the fun.
Yeah, and anybody can do that in any job, right? It doesn't matter what job somebody does; they can over deliver.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So when did you start your personal growth journey intentionally? Was it with Jason and the books, or were you already doing it before then?
No, I got to give a huge shout out. Excuse me. Might have to edit that out, but it's my mom.
Okay.
She got me involved in this stuff. So pardon me.
It's all right.
Emotional because she's still here. I love my mom. She lives across the street from me.
Wow. That's awesome. I if you don't mind, we'll edit it out if you want, but we like the emotional stuff. It's good stuff.
No, you're good.
It's real.
I'm emotional, and if you know me, you know that.
I like the emotions. We've got some other folks been emotional.
My mom got me started on some books. She helped me get going. She's a dreamer.
What's her name?
Laurie Gamble.
Miss Laurie. So shout out to Miss Laurie for being a great mom, and it's obvious you care about her. I mean, living across the street, that's awesome. So she
got me started reading books, giving me books, The Slight Edge. I mean, Purpose Driven Life. There's all sorts of amazing books on these shelves.
Yeah. So what's a book?
What's about reading? Reading has propelled me, like, and daily engaging. That's what I love about your stuff. It's consistently daily engaging in a book or something, encouraging something, right? Whether it's listening to your podcast or having a list of podcasts that you just go down and scroll of them. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I got like 5 or 6 people that I listen to all the time. You know, it's the books, but it's not, it's not, you're a great communicator. You are a great person, Mac, and Rhea as well. Y'all have written some amazing books, and I think you deserve a lot of credit because you're communicating to an audience that really needs it, you know. And I see it grow at Kilgore. I've seen it work with a growing company who I've seen a leader engage with his people, set these book studies. I've seen them engage as employees. I've seen them develop and grow as leaders. I've seen all this like in front of my eyes over the past couple of years. It's just blown my mind. I'm like, if this is what they're doing, how can we replicate this at other companies, right? Like what you're doing, you're going all around the world talking to all these places, and it's not just blue collar leaders. You know, it's everybody, right? That's what I love about it. Like that, you know, you've talked about, you know, it's not aimed just at one specific person. It's for everybody. You know, these books, the books that we're reading, like I'm going through Ladder of Influence with Kilgore right now through a book study, the one that Rhea wrote, which is wonderful. And I'm also reading the sales book that you wrote, which I'm listening to the podcast at the same time. So it's cool to read it and listen to the podcast. So that's neat. But it's an amazing way to develop character, get everybody on the same page, going in the same direction at the same time. Basically, is my, you know, the way I vision it. You know what you're doing. It's amazing. So good job.
Well, thank you for that. And you know, from your role as a salesperson, you interact, I assume, with a lot of different companies, not just Jason's. I know I see you with other ones. I don't know how many. It doesn't really matter, but it's more. You got quite a few, probably, right?
Yes, sir.
So
I do.
So it not just your customers, but really anybody out there anywhere listening who's in the electrical business. You guys are an electrical supply company. Y'all provide all kind of supplies to them. What kind of stuff do you provide for electrical companies?
Yes, sir. So Lone Star Electric Supply is a Texas-based company. It's a very young company, and we provide electrical supplies basically from the grid to the end user and everything in between. And I like to say from, you know, electric grid, transformers, solar, all that stuff, through the electric lines, through the cabling, through everything that goes inside the building. And then, you know, all to the interiors, lighting, gear, all that stuff. So
everything,
distribution, storage, what do you need?
Yeah, so that's phenomenal. So Rhea's been popping up in the background. She's in the background making us look good. So she's been popping up your work email and your personal email. I just share with everyone if you got any professional needs, anything to do with electrical supplies, you know, that's you. If you're watching the video, you'll see Daniel's email there. If not, it's in the details for the audio for the podcast. And then he also provided his personal email so that anybody who just maybe wants some inspiration or motivation or some type of little bit of coaching or mentoring, that kind of stuff, there you're open to people reaching out, Daniel?
Yes, absolutely. Call me. I'd like to say that we're on pace to hit over $1 billion in sales this year as a company that's been around less than 10 years. So we're growing really fast. Lone Star Electric Supply is doing different things. Our company motto is "We make it happen."
I like that.
That's a vision of mine. It's a purpose of mine every day.
That's awesome. You know, Rhea and I, we were the founders of a mountain bike chapter, building mountain bike trails, and that was our motto. We make it happen. We put it on t-shirts and all that stuff, and
yeah, it gives you a purpose every day. You know, when somebody calls, it gives you a purpose to make it happen.
Yeah. So for any electrical companies out there, whether they're your customers or not, just any of them out there in the world that may be listening, what benefits do you see, you know, Jason's company, Kilgore, because you've been in growing with them. Do you have any other clients doing anything even close to that?
No, sir.
So what's, and I ain't asking you to speak to them directly, but they are other electrical people, but just electrical companies in general. What do you see? What do you see different as far as you being a sales guy about the business relationship? Why should anybody even care about doing leadership development? Because you don't have to do it. Nobody hardly does it. So why
Right.
should someone do it? From your outside perspective, what do you see?
Well, it shows that you care, right? That you care about your company and that you care about your people and you care about development. That's a good thing for me to see as a salesman. I want to work with people who are, wanting to grow, right? They're people, not just stay stagnant, right? I mean, I'll work with anybody that wants to write us an order, but I think that the best way to grow, and I've seen people grow, and I think that growing can happen if you're adding some character development in there too, because it's now about how their project managers and I communicate, right? We're communicating on the weekend, on once a Saturday, and they know who I am. They know that I care about solving their problems. And if you are a customer of mine and you have, it creates that communication dialogue between me and them better, right? And then so it helps our relationship big time.
Yeah, they see your commitment. So real quick, let's shift over to that, because that's where I really got to know you the most. Is Rhea and I participate on Jason's first Saturday of the month call, and also for any electrical people, leaders in electrical business, make sure you go out and watch Jason's video, because he talks all about what he does and how he does it there. But one of the things he does is the first Saturday of the month, he does an hour and a half, video call, some people in person, and sometimes you're there in person, sometimes you're on video. But I noticed you're so committed to that call most of the time, especially I guess in the spring, but maybe the fall too. You're usually at a ball game.
Yeah, I'm often at a ball field, and signing in on a Teams call, that's easy to do from where I'm at, right? I mean, it's feeding my mind and my day, just from where I'm at.
Yeah, and who you watching at those games?
Oh, I got two boys that play baseball, 9 and 13, and they're busy. So Grayson and Quinn, they're extremely busy. I used to be a coach for them. I'm no longer a coach. I've recently given up those coaching duties to now some coaches and some teams that are very qualified to do a great job of raising them. But now I get to be a dad and just watch.
Yeah, you get to be a cheerleader over there.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I loved coaching. That was one of my most favorite times of life.
Yeah, that's awesome. How's what you've been learning throughout all these books impacted your family life?
Tremendously. I'd say that my relationships with my kids and my wife are never better. Our communication's better. I mean, obviously we're always having issues, right? I'm not going to beat around the bush and lie and say that, because if you also know me, I'm an open book. You might know some things about my family. And so, my family's amazing, but my boys like to listen to this stuff in the background, on the way to baseball practice, or, they've participated in these things. So it's good to see. And honestly, they get a lot out of it just in hearing the little bits and pieces that they do. It's one of my goals really to start a little group like this with those boys, or with some kids, with an organization, perhaps. So,
yeah.
Or, just to develop the younger kids too, because the sooner that you can hear this stuff, the better, because I heard it early. Thank God I heard it early. Thank my mom. Like I was saying earlier, she provided that information to me early. I've been character building at an early age. I've grown up character building.
Yeah.
Every Sunday and every Wednesday, I've been character building.
That's phenomenal. I didn't get a hold of this till I was 39.
Well, these books are, the way you communicate is to a good, you've got a great way of communicating it. So yeah, the sooner you can get stuff like this, the better. It's awesome.
Yeah. So what you got any principles you share with people? Any principles you've learned, like ones your go-to principles for yourself personally? Could you share some of that and why they're important?
I've always got a Rolodex of Mr. Mac things that he says. It's like,
it ain't got to be my stuff. It could be
well,
anybody.
no, I mean, as in like, I do. I mean, early's on time, on time's late, and late's unacceptable. That's the one that my first manager gave me when he didn't let me come to work at the restaurant when I was going through college. And he said, go home, you're late. And I didn't make money that day. And he said, early's on time's late, and late's unacceptable. And that's the way I've grown up. I didn't go to the military for that. I didn't, that sounds military,
Yeah.
But I teach that to my kids, right? Like, hey guys, we're late. Like, I want to be early to practice. I want to be early to this meeting or that, right? So that was a big one. The one that I use now is, as I get a little bit busier, that you say is, I'm always open 24/7, right? I'll be here for you. Call me anytime. But right now, I'm just not available. I'm just talking to Matt right now.
Yeah.
And we're not able to work on that urgent issue. However, I know it's urgent. Leave me a message. I'll get right back to you. Boom. Right. And so, I'm always open.
Yeah.
For my customers, you can call me anytime, weekends, nights. I mean, whatever. So I'll do my best and always try to help you out. That's always my commitment. But
I like that.
That's one. There's been helping other people climb. Helping other people up is the one principle I'm really gaining a lot of appreciation for through Ria's book.
Yeah,
Ladder of Influence.
Yeah, that's a good book.
And really, it's not about me. It's about helping other people. It's about who can I help get to where they want to be, right? And whether that's my kids or my wife.
Yeah.
My customer.
That's good stuff, man. I love you, Daniel. I love your passion for really, I mean, it comes through. I mean, if people got an option to work with a salesperson who actually cares or one who don't care, it's pretty obvious which one you want to go with. Do you see a lot of salespeople? Actually, let me rephrase it. Do you see all this personal growth and development that you're doing? And it ain't just, you're not really talking about that much sales training development. You do some of that, I'm sure, but you're talking about character development for a lot of the same books that I talk about and write about and I read. So what for somebody who's in sales, maybe they're just starting out, why is focusing on character development important in a sales role? Why is it I know it's an advantage. Why do you know it's an advantage? Why is it important?
Well, because people really buy from people, and that's my personal opinion. And if I could do the same thing as anybody else, as in, competency wise or providing the same solution, right? If we're all on a level playing field and I have a better character than somebody else, what is going to get me the order? And really, it's a full circle win-win for everybody because everybody wins.
Yeah.
And the customer especially wins because they're just blowing up and booming from this. I'm just helping out, winning by making people happy.
Yeah. And you shared earlier, you said 1 billion in sales with a B, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I just want to make sure anybody who's listening, I didn't want to interrupt you back then, but I didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, that's a lot to do with, less than 10 years, only in Texas. We're in the top 25 in distributors in the nation.
Wow.
We're a company that's growing very well right now.
And
we've grown through the hard times through COVID, and that is because we have a very dedicated ownership team that has, just invested a lot of, money in our inventory and just making sure that we could be there for people when they need us.
Okay. When did you start there? What year did you start with Lone Star?
4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been at Lone Star 4 years. I was at another electrical distributor for 3 years. I'm very thankful for good times and bad times. You've got to learn to develop from the failures. You got to learn to develop from the bad times.
Yeah. So So 4 years, Jason had just started, because he's in his 5th year now with Kilgore, and you didn't know him before he started with Kilgore, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so you've seen them actually grow like
Oh
ridiculously,
yeah.
and y'all been a part of that. So y'all growing ridiculously with them, and you got other clients.
Yeah. The Lord has blessed us, and He's blessing Jason at Kilgore, and they're booming. So I think it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, they're creating a lot of jobs. You guys are creating a lot of jobs. I mean, that everybody wins. The more you grow, a lot of those people on the front lines today, if you keep growing, especially exponentially kind of growth, a lot of those people on the front lines, if they get engaged, they're going to be moving up in the organization.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Something else I see you do, and I really appreciate it. I see you celebrating the people out there in, I guess, you guys' warehouse, wherever they're at, they're making it happen. You really celebrate those people, because without those people, we know ain't nothing else. It ain't happening.
I could do it more. I'm not going to sit here and say I do it all the time. I should do it more often, but I do appreciate those guys. I appreciate the people in the warehouse who, it's not easy. We got an air conditioned warehouse. It's pretty nice. It's one of the few out there, but I mean, those guys haven't made but they do a lot of hard work back there. They're cutting tons of wire all day. And I mean, it's not an easy job. It's really not. And neither is the warehouse on the shipping side, with the whole team that's, delivering our material every day. I got to appreciate those guys too. I got to make sure that they know that it doesn't operate without them. And that's the truth. I will not be as successful as I can be without my team.
Yeah. I was in a company recently, and they're better now. That's why we were there. They getting better. But I heard one of the frontline folks and one of the leaders who've been there a long time used to talk about this particular group who does some dirty work. They do some dirty work, and they look down on by a lot of their leaders in that company. Used to be, not anymore, and society looks down on them because of the dirty work they do. But I really appreciate that people do dirty work, because somebody's got to do it or we'd be in a mess. But they were talking about, the leaders actually referred to them as the mutants. I mean, that's the way they talk to their people. And there's organizations like that where, I mean, it's narcissistic, sociopathic leaders, and they just want to rule over the people. So that's why when I see people like you caring about the people who do the work, because it takes a whole team. Nobody's special. If we on a team, we all special, because any of us are not showing up tomorrow, this thing's not going to work. Kind of like a chain on a bicycle. You got to have all the parts, or that chain really ain't worth much.
Yes. Yeah, you need the whole team. Everybody's got to show up. Everybody's got to show up, or it doesn't work. So yeah, it's a big deal. And that's another key principle that I've got, just in life, is just show up, right? Show up for whoever you're going to be there for that day. If you've got a meeting, show up. If you've got to be there for a game, show up. If you've got to be there to deliver something, show up.
Yeah.
Show up for your people when they're going through hard times. Show up, show up.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. That's the big piece, right? Everybody. The folks show up for the leader show up for the people show up for the customers and the suppliers, everybody, one big team when you really think about it. Do you ever try to encourage other companies to do this when they're not doing it? Do you ever just kind of plant the seeds out there, not force it, but just talk about it?
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I've got another customer that I heard they had some books on their desk the other day, and they blue collar leadership books, in fact. And I said, "Where'd you get those?" And they said, "Well, he bought them. They reached out to me, and they're going through it too." So I was like, "Oh wow, let's talk about that." And so that was a great conversation, and which led into a very excellent, discussion, about character, right? So it opened up another door with somebody else. I like to just take opportunities when I can at other customers to say, "Hey, I hear you complaining about how you can't keep, employees, or you can't find employees. I hear you complaining about, your guys are not showing up on time, or they're wasting time on the job because they don't want to be there." It's like, or whatever, right? And I'm just trying to say, hey, what if you start developing their character a little bit more and change that a little bit, right? Help them through that, right? I mean, just help them. Not everybody knows, forgive them for they just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's a principle I've lived by a long time. You just got to teach them. You got to help them.
Yeah.
Not everybody was raised like that or ever taught that.
Yep. And most companies, Daniel, I mean, we go to a lot of companies who ain't never done anything like this, full of a lot of people like you're talking about, like I had never been introduced really to this type of stuff. And usually about 80 to 90% of them actually are interested. If the leaders will get engaged, the people will get engaged. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty,
pretty
powerful. Those things that you were mentioning that you hear a lot of people saying, do you hear Jason and his team saying those same things? That they can't find people and people won't show up and they always losing people and all that sort of stuff?
No, from what I understand, he's got 26 master electricians that work for him. But
tell me about that. So about that. I'll hear him say that.
Awesome.
I mean, I've asked a few other people. That's almost unbelievable. That
I think it's kind of cool. I think it says a lot about just that people want to work there, that have the credentials to, operate high quality on a job. And I'm not, I think it's good. You always have a lot of knowledge out there too, right? And it just says that people want to work there.
Yeah, and you read my culture book. That may be the one I saw you share some picture. You on a beach, I think, reading some book. I don't remember which.
Yeah. I forget where that is. Yeah, it's somewhere. Yeah. Let me grab that real quick. This one here, the 5 performance. This one.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you're talking about. That book addresses.
Right. Yeah, I gave this to a lady there that was next to me at the beach, and she took this back home with her to her HR department. So I hope that that's helping. Lo, I think is her name. Yeah. So, anyways, great stuff, great principles, because it's about building people up and helping people get to where they want to be, right? Whether it's training them up internally, right, to be master electricians, and now they just want to stay, or you're attracting that, or whatever, right? I mean, how are you building people?
Yeah. I always tell people we were out at an electrical company in Kansas just last week, and one of the things I was telling, it was pretty cool. They were a smaller company with about 40 people. He also got a 10-person excavation company, but they had all 50 people in the room. The owner was there, and I was telling the owner, you got to grow and develop these people so much that they got 10 options to leave you tomorrow. They can go get a job 10 different companies tomorrow, but you want to treat them so well that they don't want to go do that. That when you do that, you ain't got a problem attracting people. You got people lined up waiting to get in your company.
Yeah. It's a good principle to build a company around, just very, very good idea.
Yep. And if they leave, you're proud of them. I mean, that's the way the leaders got to be. You got to be proud that you grew them and developed them, because you don't slip back. When you build a company like that, somebody leaves, you don't lose ground necessarily when they leave, because you elevating your whole company, and you plug somebody in at this level who's a higher caliber because you're attracting top talent.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the national championship football coach. He don't lose his job. He may lose some of his best coaches, but then he gets the best coaches available, and he learns from them. They learn from him, and most often they just keep on winning and keep on going, as long as they got the character to do it.
Yes, sir.
So
yeah.
So you got any personal journey you'd like to share about? You don't have to.
I would. I want to make a point to say that I thank all the people that have gotten me where I'm at. Like every step along the way, I look back at my journey and I think of, I'm talking back the minute I left the home, right? Because I left home right after high school, moved out, went to college, started doing my own thing.
How old are you now, Daniel?
I'm 38.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that was crucial for me, just leaving home early, getting started early, my own journey. That's something I don't see a lot these days with young children. And kids getting, and I know things are super difficult, so please don't hear what I'm not saying, but I find a lot of value in that time that I did leave home early And then I worked hard in the restaurant business, learning these character things, waiting tables or whatever, right? At an earlier. And, Chad Holland was a huge mentor of mine back at P.F. Chang's when I worked in the restaurant business. That's the guy who he was a always character building guy. He was always happy, always on cloud 10. And like, hey, how can we blow your mind type of way? Like, hey, Daniel, run down the street. We don't have this beer in stock. Go down the street and get that, and let's get it for him now. And he's going to say, oh, dang, you got that beer. And he's going to be blown away, right? He's that guy. So Chad Hollins, he's the guy who's taught me how to blow people's minds. And then, honestly, throughout college, when I graduated college, because I worked in the restaurant business all throughout college until I graduated in 2009 with a marketing degree from UT Arlington. That was a very, very great time in my life that I worked throughout college. It took a little longer than expected. I got a degree, it's something that I thought you go do, right? It was, I wasn't a blue collar guy. I wasn't the guy who knew how to fix things, or I was going to go do marketing, right? That was my plan. So throughout waiting on tables, another thanks, shout out to my mom, because she highly encouraged me to make these business cards right when I graduated college. And it says my name on it. It says graduate 2009, UT Arlington, motivated, sales driven, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, and so I would be like putting these in checks. Right. And networking and thank you goes to shout out to Sarah Avilas. I remember her name. She got me my first job, but because she was like, hey, I like your style that you're going out there and putting yourself out there. You need to come work at CAE Semiflight. So I sold aviation training for a while. And that was a fun job because I started as an inside salesman there. That's where I started my first real, I would say true sales role. As an inside salesman at an aviation company selling simulator training to business aviation companies.
Okay.
And I had an outside salesman that I was partnered with, Dennis, and he was a great guy. He taught me the ropes of how to communicate to customers. And so I've learned things along the way with him. That company taught me how to be a really good inside salesman, and that those roles are really important. So I value my inside salesman. I appreciate everything they do for me because I've been there. I know what it takes to enter every order, to set every schedule, to call every person for a follow-up and do, I do. I totally get it. And from there, I went into an outside sales role. That was my first outside sales role with a company doing something different. I sold electronic components.
Okay.
So circuit board level components to electrical engineers. So that was a really fun time in my life because I covered a lot of ground. I covered Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And I was, flying all around and traveling all around, driving all around. I was putting lots of miles on the truck. And
you probably still do.
I do. I got 130K on a 2020 Ram. So yeah, I build the miles. And so that helped me learn how to, I went with a little kit everywhere I went. I had a little sales kit, right? And it was, here's all our components. And I got circuit board level deep, right? Designing with electrical engineers on new electronic devices. It was a fun job. It was a difficult job because it was super knowledgeable, right? You had to be super expert on the stuff you were talking about. And because they're hard nuts to crack, those engineers, and they know what they're talking about. And you have to know exactly how to find them what they need and then partner with them. And we had a lot of fun with that. I designed a lot of fun little products with people, along the way. My components that I sold them are still in some cool stuff. So that was a fun time of life. And I had a couple kids at that time. And that was a really tough time in life with a couple young kids. My wife at home, really doing her very best, doing a great job. And it became hard on me. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, I got something in Texas. Would you want to come sell electrical supplies?" And so that's when a huge shout out to Clint Cooper, best friend, great buddy and mentor of mine in this business. So he got me in the business, and then he's kind of coached me up to where I am today. Along the way with, and that was in my first few years in the business. God blessed me, and I got laid off in COVID. That company decided to lay me off, and I was so blessed to be able to get to be on Lone Star Electric Supplies team.
You got promoted.
I got promoted. It was a huge blessing. Now I look back, and I have to sit back and I have to think about those blessings, because that was a hard day.
Yeah, he knew what was coming. You didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's often what's going on in life, and we.
Oh.
What we want out of life ain't necessarily what he wants us to have out of life, and we had to sometimes we got to do our part, but not know what's coming. Just do the work.
I'd have never met you guys. I'd have never met, been on Lone Star Electric Supplies team, and as happy as I am now, it's a great thing that Lone Star has going. I'm riding on some excellent coattails right now, because the company's blowing up, and so it's fun to see. How many people
do you know how many people total y'all have now about, or?
I don't want to get caught lying. I thought I had a little flyer here, and I'm not in my truck because that's my office actually. Yeah. I'm never really in my home office. Because
your truck is your office.
My truck's my office. Yeah.
Yeah. But are you guys, when you started in 2020, I guess when you started there, sounds like, so there's a lot more people there now. Y'all grown like crazy.
Yeah. Oh, we're growing like crazy. We've added lots of project managers, lots of people in the warehouse. It's great. We've opened up new locations. We just opened up McKinney. We've opened up McAllen, Odessa, Midland.
Y'all tearing it up.
We are tearing it up. And we're branching out too, not just electrical supplies. We're branching out to tools and equipment too, right? We're selling you and renting you tools. What do you need? We're doing a lot of really fun things, some big things that are difference-making things that we need to talk about. So call me.
Yeah.
If you're interested in electrical supplies and you're buying electrical supplies, give me a call.
What about if they're interested in working there, learning about what you guys do? Yeah. Could they call you and learn about your team?
Absolutely. I highly encourage you to go check out the website, look at the open positions. We're constantly hiring, whether it's marketing or in solar, datacom, or right now our solar division's blowing up. And so there's a lot of growth, whatever it is, whether you want to work in the warehouse, or you want to work in the office, or you want to drive a truck, or, there's something for you here at a company that's doing some really good things.
And it's a good time when a company's growing like that. You come.
Yeah, I think we've grown 40% year over year in the past, 3 or 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, 30 to 40%, through COVID. Yeah, we're talking astronomical, crazy growth right now, and it's because we've just invested in the right partners with the right supplies on our shelves, and we have the right people working for us. It's because of the management wanting to do what they got to do, right? There's not a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. And so
just make it
happen, it makes it a lot easier.
Absolutely.
And it makes it so much more fun to call the president of the company and say, hey, I need help on this. Can you help me with this? And he helped me through it. I talked to the president of my company yesterday. We're in a large company that's going to do $1 billion in revenue this year. Or over. So, that's cool. I think that there's a lot of value in that. And then a lot of value in just, the people that are doing the job, right? There's a lot of people doing a very good job at Lone Star.
Yeah. If you're going to have a make it happen mindset, everybody on the team's got to have that mindset. And including the big dog at the top. If I'm the big dog, you on my team, you trying to make it happen, guess what I got to do? I got to help you make it happen. It sounds like that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So
Makes my job fun.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about it. I mean, it is fun. You got to be ready though. You got to be on the team when you're in a growing company. You got to show up like you said.
Oh no, I bust my butt. There's been a lot of things that I've done over this year. This year's been a game changing year for me. As in, I read and listened to this 10x and 2x thing, right, where you're trying to 10x your life, basically.
Yeah.
And that's what mode I'm in right now. And in order to do that, you've got to make a lot of key changes to areas that you think that you're currently doing right. Like, I thought to myself, okay, I'm doing great. I'm trucking along, doing 100%. And then I heard that and I was like, wait, 80% of what I'm doing right now is not necessarily the best things for me. Like, I need to maybe be changing that, or 20%, and, how do I change these things, these little things, to get me there, right? One huge one that I'll share with you is a calendar. And to me, I've always taken a calendar electronically or mentally maybe, or, I'll remember and I'll go there, or, and I'm going to put that bid date in my calendar and I'll get all that. Okay. Well, I thought, how do I make sure that I'm at everything? I'm doing everything I say I'm going to do, because that's what integrity is, right? Do what you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it, how you said you're going to do it, because you said you're going to do it, right, Matt?
Yeah.
And I've always lived by integrity. The Gamble name is integrity. And so when you said all that, I'm like, okay, that rings a bell. That is really what connected me to the blue collar leadership stuff, because that helps me do my daily things, right? And so if I'm going to do all that and not forget all that, I got to write it down. So I started taking a desk calendar, and I'm going to share it with you real quick. I won't get super up close, but I've got a calendar that I keep on there, and it's got every little detail on there of my life right now. And so some might say that's extreme. My wife called me nuts. She goes, why don't you get a little book? You're crazy. And I said, I kind of am. Like, I got to be a little bit nutty to do 10x things, right? Like, if I'm going to do it, I've got to do it right. And so now I've got the color-coded pens, and it makes it fun. It makes me remember that everything that my customer sends me is important. If you send something to me, I write it on this calendar. And if you know me, you've seen this calendar. It goes everywhere with me. I take it in my truck, take it to the office, take it home. It's how I've been able. It's one of those little steps, right? So the Slide Edge book, that's another huge book. Huge shout out to Jeff Olson for writing that book, because those principles in that book are phenomenal, of just doing daily things, right? Daily little principles built over time, create invisible results, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the time, you get these amazing results, hopefully, right? You got to have the faith and the hope that you're doing all the right things, and you got to have a good plan, but that's the principles. And so if I'm going to just do one little thing every day, that this is that one thing, and then a lot of other little things, right? So if I'm constantly doing little things.
I love it, man.
Makes it fun.
That's some really, really good stuff you just shared. All of that's phenomenal. You got to, so tell me this, what if I was 18, about to graduate high school? Why would I want to be in the sales job? Why should I even think about that instead of, because a lot of times you can go in the sales job without going to college. You did go to college, but a lot of people do very, very well without going to college, just because they got something. You probably know what the something is. I know what the something is, but just what advice would you give an 18-year-old considering a sales job, any kind of sales job?
So I will say that I give a lot of credit for my college degree. I learned a lot there, and it have a lot of value. There's a lot of value I got out of that. So I don't want to discredit college at all, because I got a lot of value out of that. But I also paid a lot of money for that. And I had student loans for a long time, and that's why I was working through college. There was a lot that finally paid them off. So if I were to tell anybody something right now, it's, hey, if you want to be in sales, or if you're a customer person. You like people. You're a people person, really, because you at a young age like that, you're not necessarily a salesperson yet. You might be a people person. So if you have those characteristics, then start somewhere at the bottom. Go be the guy who's in the warehouse. Go be the guy who's driving the truck or picking the order or bussing the table or setting up whatever. I mean, I was a host at a really nice restaurant to start with. And then I became a busboy. And then I became a food runner and then a waiter. It was a progression. It was a ladder. It was a significance. It was, hey, I worked hard over this time and I earned it, right? I earned it.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something there that's key that I want you to touch on. And I meant to say it earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you the last time you kind of touched on that. But college, I heard a leader, it might have been John Maxwell. I can't remember. I think it was John, but he always said they should change the whole college system. I mean, college is good. There ain't no doubt if you apply what you're learning. But what he said was really awesome. He said you should have to go to college a year, then you had to work a year. Then you go to college a year, then you had to work a year. So you can actually, you did it simultaneously. I was working when I went to college. Rhea was too. I don't even know if you know. She started out at Pizza Hut waiting tables and later on, even farther into her career, when I was traveling a lot, she just got a side job working at Outback as a waitress. So,
well, let me interrupt you and shout out to my dad because I can't leave him hanging. Rick Gamble worked 2 jobs sometimes as a kid. I mean, I remember him working as a limo driver, as a pizza delivery guy, in addition to his everyday job that he grinded on. I mean, he was
making it happen,
right? He was making it happen, and that's a leader for our family, right? That's what I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So it's Rick and Laurie, right?
Yep. Rick and Laurie. Yep.
Yeah. They've been making it happen in their own life and in your life. That's awesome set of parents. Sounds like.
Yes, sir.
So, but because you were working through college, you were able to understand what you were learning in college because you were seeing it in the real world. So even though it's tough and it's hard to work and go to college, could you just talk about that benefit of doing both, even though it is hard, instead of just partying when you ain't studying?
Oh, it taught me how to manage my finances, that I can't buy whatever I want, whenever I want it. Not that that's how I grew up at all. But when I started, I thought, I'm going to get my job and start making money. Now I get to buy whatever I want. And that's not necessarily how it all works because I got an apartment and I got, some other bills and some things, right? Now a girlfriend, it's like, so life, so I think that if you're doing that, you're creating an appreciation for what you have to do to work hard to get where you want. It's like you see it's actually really hard, to get where you want, and it actually takes some work, right? Like you it's not just going to be given to you.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've got 2 young kids and I'm trying to teach these kids that they're going to have to work hard to get where they want, and it's not going to be given to them.
Yeah. Your youngest, you said, was 9. Is that right?
9 and 13. Yes, sir.
Yeah. 9. So 9, he might have kind of got beyond it, but probably not. It depends on, I haven't ever seen the book, but have you did 7 Habits for Happy Kids with him by chance?
I have not. I've read that book myself, but I haven't done the kids one.
Yeah, so there's one for, like, I don't know the age group, maybe 6 and up somewhere, for kids. It's a big book, picture book. And
cool.
You might just want to check that out and see but then there's also one for teens. There's 7 Habits for teens. And so that, that's a good one. John Maxwell's got a book called Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn, but he's also got a Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn for teens, to start developing that growth mindset where, and most people say sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but not a growing person. Sometimes you learn.
Right. Always learning. Yep. Never losing. I'm not a loser. Don't call me a loser. Sorry.
Hey, can you, and if you don't have anything, that's fine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything that you maybe learned or stood out to you from the Who's Buying You sales book of mine that you read? Anything resonate, any stories or anything come to the top of mind from that book?
Well, there's a lot of at-home character principles that have worked for me. you do a lot of both at home and at work, is the recent ones that I've been on, the recent podcast.
Yeah.
Character. And, I mean, I think that people are going to buy you if you're authentic, right? If you're really who you say you are.
Yeah. Authenticity sells, right? One of the chapters in that book.
That's right. I mean, that book's amazing. There are so many great things, and authenticity is one of the main ones, because that shows who you actually are and that you're actually going to do what you say you're going to do. And so to me, that's one of the things that's going to get me an order, hopefully. And, in sales, those are good things to have. If I want to increase my sales, I want to be authentic. I want people to know they can trust me. They can call Daniel. It's going to happen.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff.
That's follow through with what you say you're going to do, Yeah.
If you ain't going to do it, don't say it. If you say it, you pretty much got to do it.
That's right.
You ever find yourself just in your professional role, people, I mean, I just like to hear this just for myself, and I'm sure the listeners will help, but you ever find yourself struggling just internally? Customer may not know it, but you're struggling. They want you to commit, but you ain't sure if you can do it. So you just can't say you can do it, because if you have a high degree of character, if you say you're going to do it, you got to do it. So how do you deal with that struggle inside when you can't do it, so you can't say you're going to do it? What is that like for Daniel?
I have to say, listen, from the jump, I'm going to do the best I can. Whether I know I can or I can't, I don't know yet until I start, right? I'm a firm believer in that I'm not going to say I can't do anything yet. And I'm going to try. And then once I figure that out, it's like, hey, we did the best we got. We gave it our best shot. We sent everybody out. And then, you know what? Sometimes it works out, but sometimes it doesn't. And you have to know when to walk away, or when it's just not the right order, or you're just not going to win them all. There's a lot of that mindset too of, man, if you know that I'm going to try my very best and I'm going to exhaust all my resources and get my whole company involved, and when I say I can't do it, that means I can't do it. And I mean, it's plain and simple, right? It's hard though, because I always want to be the guy that says yes. Heck yeah. That's the battle of sales versus sometimes the company, can be, a lot of times they're bumping heads. Sales wants to sell, and we don't have capacity, right? Or we, whatever, right? So, or they owe us a bunch of money, right? Or, no, I want to sell. So, there's a lot of that involved too.
Yeah. Do you feel the pressure? I talk about it often about when I'm in companies and I get to talk to the salespeople and the folks working in the warehouses, doing the work. When I get to talk to everybody in a company where they got a highly engaged sales team, one thing I always like everybody to know is, and I'm sure you feel that pressure, you ain't just selling for you. Yeah, it impacts your bottom line, but you trying to make sure everybody else who's already working there has got a job. And a lot of times they may be, well, why are they always selling this, putting all this pressure? But you can't not sell it, then they'd be out of a job. So
it's full circle, baby. We need each other. And honestly, we do a great job keeping up. So they do an amazing job for us salespeople. It's not a battle at Lone Star. I want to make that clear. Like, it's easier than it's not difficult, but sometimes it might be difficult. Luckily, I was able to pull a rabbit out of the hat this week for Kilgore. They needed something. The ball got dropped. Let's just say they needed something because they're getting some concrete poured tomorrow, and they have a hard deadline for when they have to have this stuff. And they called me and said, Daniel, if anybody's going to make it happen, it's you. And I was able to make it happen. Thank God. I was able to get the right things in the right times. Okay. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it doesn't always go out so perfectly. So that's how you handle, those situations too.
Yeah. That's awesome. That slogan, we make it
makes
happen.
It fun. Yeah. It makes it fun because it was like, oh, give me a challenge, right? Call me with a challenge of something that you need and let me try. Right.
Absolutely. I love the "We Make It Happen" slogan, because it when you talk about it all the time, when it's written everywhere, I say make it happen if someone else will, might as well be you. Yeah. That goes right along with what you guys are talking about. And
my previous company that I worked for, the electronic component company, Worth Electronics, their slogan was "More Than You Expect." And that was an amazing slogan to live by too, because you're constantly providing somebody with more than they expect to happen.
Over-delivering.
Right? Over-delivering, right? So that was, when you ask of all my steps along the way, it goes from college, restaurant business, a little bit of aviation inside sales, a little bit of outside sales, electronic components, getting into this world, right? And knowing that all those steps along the way, I've learned something very key. And I think that's what a young person needs to understand too, is that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, sometimes, right? Sometimes it happens very quickly, but for the most part, you're going to have to grind.
Yeah. And if it happens quickly, you got to be careful.
And it's worth the grind. It is, because when what you're doing is making people happy all the time, hopefully trying to, the majority of the time you're winning, making people happy. That's a good thing. It's a good thing to go home with in my family, and they see those things as well. So
absolutely. So we're going to wrap it up here. You got anything that I didn't ask or you didn't say that you'd like to share with anybody? Any closing thoughts, messages, principles, quote, anything?
No, show up for the people that are in your life. To show up
and throw down. Right.
And thank you for having me, Mac. I appreciate it. And Rhea, thank you very much for both of you inviting me to do this. I'm really thankful for Kilgore for inviting me to do this book study with them. Again, thank you very much, Jason. And again, thanks for having me.
Okay, man. So thanks, Daniel. It's been a pleasure, and you dropped some golden nuggets on the audience, and thank you for sharing your story. It's some good stuff, and we never know who's going to help, but it's going to help somebody. Somebody needs to hear your story. They don't need my story or Rhea's story or Jason's story. They need Daniel's story. So you shared some of that today, and maybe one day, man, you'll have a book or a podcast or something out there and help people at a different level. Ain't nothing stopping you.
I'll do a book study. Let me start local. I'll do a book study with my company or with my church or, with my baseball team. We'll go there, and then podcasts. Book, maybe. I don't know.
You still growing, man. Wait till you're old as me, man. You ain't no telling what you might be doing by then.
You never know. I'm not going to say no.
All right. Well, thank you. And thanks to everyone for listening. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership Series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.